to see what our users were looking for. We got millions of readers coming to us every single day, every single month, looking for an answer to something. It could be just a definition. It could be an explanation. It could be a question. How do I invest 10,000 bucks, 401k, Roth IRA? So everybody has an individual question. That's the thing about finance. It's super personal. But looking at those over time, aggregating those over time, gives us a sense of where our psyches were as investors throughout this incredible year. And for investors, it's been an incredible year. Am I right? We don't get back-to-back years of plus 25% very often, and we don't get these rallies in risk assets like we've had this year every single year. So it's been fun to watch, and I'd love to share them. So every year we're looking to see what people are looking for, and it shouldn't be a big surprise that inflation was our top term of 2024. It was on everybody's mind. Not only was it on everybody's mind, even though the growth rate of inflation was slowing, it was the thing that kind of turned the tide in a lot of different ways, especially the election. So people were watching inflation closely. They knew the headline numbers were coming down, and you guys can relate to this, but they didn't feel like they were paying any less for anything, and that's because they weren't. The rate of growth was slowing, but inflation was still prevalent. It's still prevalent today. It'll probably be a popular term next year. And then the thing that they were making this decision with, among the economic decisions they were making, is if they elect President Trump back into office, they're going to get tariffs. So tariffs became a very big theme with our readers throughout the second half of the year, especially as the campaign and the election heated up quite a bit. That was fun and fascinating to watch. And then it's rare to have a company dominate our top 10, but Nvidia was that company in 2024, arguably in 2023 as well. But the returns from a company like Nvidia that became the story stock, I've been watching you guys every single week. I know you've been talking about it and talking about the other chip makers, but Nvidia was a stock that all of a sudden people were gathering together and having earnings watch parties like regular people, not people like me and Ian and you guys, but regular folks were getting together and watching the Nvidia earnings reports, listening to every word Jensen Huang had to say. That became a super important story. And then stock split followed that right behind because Nvidia had that big 10-for-1 stock split, which just shows you the behavior of investors. They know about this company. They hear about a stock split. They know the stock is going to get cheaper. And what do? They go and they investigate what it means when a stock splits. We also had 340 other stock splits, including Walmart, but that was on people's minds. And then another one that really got my attention, Bitcoin, for obvious reasons. That was the risky but very profitable asset for a lot of people. And the money line bet, guys. This was the first year where the betting polls on the election were actually more accurate than the polls themselves, which have gotten more and more inaccurate over the years. But you could bet on the outcome of the election, and Polymarkets really kicked it off. But you could do it on Robinhood, you could do it throughout Europe, you could do it on multiple sites. This is the year that really came together, and that, to me, I think is the beginning of a big trend in betting on just about everything. You can securitize everything, and you can bet on everything.
Yeah, that's a hell of a list. The one thing that's glaring to me, and it probably was on your list for 2023, is the word recession. We kept hearing that coming out of 2023 into 2024, the second half of the year or the last quarter. We're going to start to see recession or recessionary environments. Not on your list. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, we ask our readers every 2 months, what are the things you're most worried about? Give us your top 10 concerns. Recession never made it past the top 5. What were they worried about? First, they were worried about interest rates. Then they had worries about geopolitical concerns because we had the war in Russia and Ukraine. We had the war in the Middle East. Then they were worried about the election, not necessarily the outcome of the election, but the political chaos that might have ensued if things went a certain way. We knew that was top of mind for them. And then it became things like the U.S. relations with China, but recession never got to them. They never felt like that was going to happen, even though that was a big threat. They felt like there were other things that were going to affect their portfolios. But from about June, July on until the rest of the year, when the Fed indicated that it would start lowering rates, risk was on big time, and the stock market basically took off and went into high gear, and they got very confident. They're as confident as we've seen them in the history of the time we've been surveying them right now, for obvious reasons. Stock markets at all-time highs, risk assets at all-time highs, the prospect of lower interest rates and less regulation. Green lights, guys.